Hello and welcome back to the Open Mic Show. Today, I'm having a one-on-one conversation with Miss Dancia Penn, at-large territorial member, running for a seat. I want to welcome you guys into the conversation today and hope that at the end of this beautiful discussion, Miss Penn and I, that we're going to have, she'll convince you that she is one of the right fit for the job. Of course, Miss Penn, before we get started, I want to say that you know, over the years, I've known you for a long time. You've known me before I was probably even born. And it's been a pleasure knowing you. I must say that when we heard that you were jumping into the race, a lot of people jumped for joy. They were very happy to hear that a woman with your caliber, your background, your experience in law, your experience in government and in humanity, that you have chose to jump back into the race. So be sure that a lot of people probably got your back. And that's coming from me, ladies and gentlemen. That's coming from me. That's the word on the street. This is open mics. I ask people to get involved with the conversation. A lot of people ask my opinion, and I tell them, and then I ask theirs, and they tell me. So with that said, enough praising. Ms. Penn, why are you running? Why are you running in this election?
Sam, I'm so delighted to be with you on Open Mic. I would like to thank you for affording me this opportunity, as well, of course, as I thank the owners of this television station, Mr. Andrew Cox, and all the others. I would like also to greet very warmly all the people of our beautiful Virgin Islands. The people on Anegada, on Jos Van Dyke, on Virgin Gorda, and throughout Tortola, our many, many communities here on Tortola. And I greet you all very warmly and say how pleased I am to be in touch with you through this medium today. As you all know, I love people. I am a people person. And the burning desire in my heart would be to be able to meet each and every person in this country, to look them in their eyes and to touch them. I'm a very tactile person, my friends tell me, to touch them and to really share with them what my thoughts are and hear what theirs are. Unfortunately, time will not permit for that to happen. So I'm very grateful for an opportunity such as this to speak with people and to share some of my thoughts and my vision. Why am I running? I am running in the upcoming elections, which we know will be held on the 8th of June, because I care. I care very deeply about people, about the people of this country, about the people of our region, indeed about the people of the world, because we are part of that whole world. I have looked with concern, and increasing concern, at what I have seen developing in our country in recent years. My concerns are not new. I have always had them. But in the last 3.5 years, the things that I have seen, the things I've been told, the requests that have been made to me from people, all those factors coming together have compelled me to take the decision to offer myself for continuing public service, this time through elected office as a member of the House of Assembly.
Great, great. Let me ask you, the last time around, you obviously ran. Everyone know you ran with the Virgin Islands Party. Why independent? Why at large? Why not with the party?
That's a good question. That's an important question, and it is a question that I know concerns many people. And let me just say publicly for the first time that historically I have not been a person who believed in political parties. And all my life I had not been a member of a political party. It was only in 2007 when for the first time I sought elected office that I ran as a candidate on the ticket of the Virgin Islands Party. And I believed then, and I believe now, that the Virgin Islands Party is truly the party of the people.
Great, great,
But
great.
I do want to go on to say, and in fact to respond to your question, by saying that the reason I'm running as an independent candidate in this election is that having watched and observed everything, my very honest and deep opinion is that people deserve a choice. People deserve and want and are asking for. Hundreds of people in this country, Sam, over time have said to me, we need an independent voice. We need an independent choice. I offer such an independent voice, such an independent choice. But there's a reality to government, and there's a reality to the way that government is organized and structured. And obviously, any of the 13 members who are elected to the House of Assembly on the 8th of June, anyone who is elected will have to work with the rest of the team to make sure that government functions. I believe our country is in deep need of becoming united. We are small. We know our history. We have become too divided. It is us or them. It is this P or that P. It is not the people. And I truly believe, truly and deeply and sincerely believe, that we need to be united. And I do not want to contribute anymore to further dividing this nation, further dividing this country. I would like us to come together to build and to progress. And our young people need us. You know, I was very fortunate growing up, as I know you were. We both are from East End. Very fortunate to grow up, and the whole of the Virgin Islands was that way, to grow up in communities where we had leaders who cared, leaders who worked together for our good, for the common good. I feel a duty, I feel a responsibility to work towards that for our young people.
Awesome. Well, like the saying say, united we stand, divided we fall. So
Absolutely.
I think
we need a unity.
Yes.
And
yes.
I rarely offer myself. I'm a human being. I have all the frailties that human beings have. I'm very conscious of that. And I know that I cannot solve every problem. But I believe that I can try. I believe that I have something to contribute. Many people consider that I do. And I would like to do whatever I can to help to unite us and to bring us together while we build, because we have to build.
Well, speaking about contributing, let me ask you, why would voters choose you, and what exactly are you bringing to the table?
That's another good question, Sam. You're loaded with them this morning, as you always are. As you always are. Leadership is important, and leadership matters. And I believe that there are certain qualities and abilities which any leader, and I'm speaking obviously specifically in this context of elected leaders, because we have leaders in all spheres of life. I believe that there are certain qualities and abilities which elected leaders should have. I'm a very modest woman. I'm a very humble person. That is at my core. But I say that I believe that I have some of the abilities and the attributes which any elected leader should have. I'm honest, I am humble, I am a listener, I am a doer. I have had the privilege of working in each of the 3 branches of government as a serving elected member of the House of Assembly, representing the 8th District, as you know. I have been the Deputy Premier of this country, and sometimes acting Premier, which is experience in the executive branch of government. I have also, in a former life, before I was elected, been Deputy Governor and sometimes Acting Governor, which is the executive branch of government. And I have also had the privilege of serving on the Court of Appeal of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court as an acting Justice of Appeal. That court is a court which serves the 9 member states of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court.
OECS.
The OECS. And in the time that I acted on that court, I sat on the bench in each of the 9 member states of the court. So I come with that broad experience in all of the branches of government, besides a very extensive career going back to 1981 as a lawyer and as Queen's Counsel, which is the highest rank that a barrister at law can attain. And I'm experienced in life, because experience in life matters.
Let me ask you about that real quick before we get too far. Being the Queen's Counsel, that's like the Attorney General.
No, there is a difference. The Attorney General is an office created under the Constitution. And the Attorney General, in our constitutional context, is a member of the House of Assembly and a member of the Cabinet.
But you are Attorney General.
As well as the principal legal advisor to the government. Yes, Sam.
I think you need to emphasize that. You need to emphasize that.
Thank you very much. I did serve this country as Attorney General from October 1992 to October 1999. I am the only Virgin Islander to have held that post.
And woman.
To this date. No, there are other women who have held office.
Only woman local BV Islander.
I'm the only Virgin Islander of any gender, male or female, to have held the office, but there are other women who have served in the office.
Yes, yes.
That's an extremely important job in our country.
That's right.
The Attorney General plays an extremely important role because not only is he or she the principal legal advisor to the government, but he or she is, as it were, the lawyer, the guardian of the rights of all of the people. And that's an extremely important responsibility and role.
Good. Well, I don't want to get too far off, because every time you say something, it leads me to ask you more and more, because learning is good. But if you were elected, given all the background in law and the experience in government, would you push for any type of legislation in the House of Assembly, any ethics legislation, any type of legislation? Because you obviously, as the Attorney General, your opinion matters. We saw issues where actions were being questioned in the House of Assembly. And the Attorney General came out and said, well, based on this, that's not the case. And then the opposition is saying this. But from a legal perspective, from a person who's been in those positions, would you bring anything or suggest anything going forward that would clearly define the law, clearly define conflict of interest, and therefore there be no misunderstanding?
Absolutely. That's a very, very important question. Sam, I have a plan which I have presented to the people of this country. I call it a 12-step plan, a 12-step action plan. It is on my website, which is www.votedancia.com. It was formally launched yesterday, and I invite all to visit that website to see what I propose specifically. I know that everybody does not use the internet. I know that everybody cannot use the internet. And I am making that 12-step action plan available by other means, including in a radio broadcast, which I will be making on ZBVI, in which I will detail the contents of that plan. And I will also be publishing in the local print media because, and I am one, we still read and rely on our newspapers. I like to lie in my bed and hold my newspaper in my hand and read it, although of course I can use the internet and I use it regularly. But to your specific question about legislation, it is fundamentally important that we have more legislation, especially in many areas, but in the specific context which you mentioned, we need more legislation to strengthen the governance and the governance fabric of our country.
Yeah.
I believe that it is very important that we have freedom of information legislation. I believe that it is very important that we have legislation that would regulate the interests of members of the House of Assembly. There is a provision, and the Cabinet, there's a provision in our Constitution which deals with registers, which requires the creation of a register of interests. And when I was a member of the government from 2007 to 2011, one of the things that was done was that a registrar of interests was appointed. She's a fine and noble lady. She did very good work, but I know that she has complained, and rightly so, about the fact that there has not been the full compliance with those requirements. But I believe that the law needs to go even further than it now is. The register needs to be open, in my opinion, and that is one of the areas which very much needs to be strengthened.
Well, I think one of the areas you could probably work on, and I say work on because I really truly believe that you might be one of the monkey wrench in the soup, as one one pundit called you the other day. But
I am so many things. I am so many things, Sam. I'm just a humble servant who loves her people, who loves her country, who cares very deeply for the young people.
Yes.
And I would like to just see a big, bright future for them. That's all that I am. And I want to be an old lady here one day. I want to be a senior as well. And that's what I'm about.
Yes. Tell me real quick, what are some of the major issues? Just give me three that concerns you the most. Be quick. You
Oh,
don't,
there's so
I know
many.
it's probably on your website,
There's
but
so
give me
many,
three.
and three restricts me very strongly. But one of the things that's troubled me a lot is what I have seen happen with people's lands.
Mm-hmm.
The ownership of land is at the core of a Virgin Islander.
That's right.
It's at the core of our Virgin Islander. Part of what has made us the proud, independent people that we are is the fact that we have owned our land. Traditionally, we have owned our land. And I don't want to give a history lesson now. It is not the time or place for it, and we don't have the time. But that importance of land to each of us is very deeply rooted in the history of our islands. And I have been very, very upset, Sam, about what I have observed in recent months happen to private lands of people at the hands of the state. Those things are troubling. They're things for which we have to stand up. And if we fail to stand up today, trust me, you and I may not be around, but we will be, as a people, in very deep trouble. So the ownership of land and the way that the state has dealt with private ownership of land is one of my concerns. Another is the standards in public life and the conduct in the House of Assembly.
Oh, yeah.
Men and women, Sam, across the length and breadth of this country, from all walks of life, have spoken to me, as I'm sure they've spoken to you, about the abysmal level to which conduct in our House of Assembly has fallen. You know, we did not always have the right to elect our Legislative Council. We have, and we've had it now since 1950, you were not born yet, nor was I. We have, since 1950, the right to elect people to represent us. And we did not get that easily. There was a gentleman from Anegada by the name of Theodore Faulkner. He came to Tortola with his wife for medical treatment, and there were difficulties in relation to that. And he spearheaded protests in Road Town, and he was joined by some other very honorable and venerable men, Isaac Glanville Fonseca, Howard Penn, Carlton Fax de Castro, and others. Our people paraded in the streets to get a House of Assembly. And since I was a little girl growing up in Easton, I remember Leslie Malone. I remember the days when we didn't have street lights and the roads weren't paved, but we had people like Leslie Malone running to become members in the Legislative Council, as it used to be called, to represent us. Those men worked hard. Willard Wheatley, Terence Lettsam, Oliver Sales, Lavity Stout, many of them worked very hard to let us have a Legislative Council, which since 2007, under the new Constitution, is called the House of Assembly. And the abysmal conduct that we see in that House of Assembly in the last 3.5 years, sad, very sad.
Yeah. We
need to restore proper standards there. And it is not only the behavior of the members, it's the failure to account to the people through the House, not answering questions, questions not being put on the order paper. Accountability and transparency are at the heart of what representative government is about. When people get elected and become members of the House, they take an oath. And the taking of an oath is a serious matter. And the expectations of people ought not to be defeated by those who are elected to serve. And I will die, Sam, being a fighter for that.
Good.
Die being a fighter for that. Because I know it matters.
Yeah.
And it will continue to matter, trust me.
It does matter. It does matter. I'm going to shift gear in a minute.
You got me charged up. You asked me for 3, I gave you 2.
You gave me 2. I think that people understand.
There are many.
And they can see
and again,
feel your passion.
in my speech, with my launch speech on the 20th of May, I set out in greater detail some of the issues that concern me. And I know that they do not concern me alone. Yeah. And I want to thank the people, Sam. I didn't do it at the beginning, but I do it now. I really want to thank the many, many people in this country for their overwhelming response and support to my announcement. It makes me know that there is, what I myself had always believed, that there is every reason for hope. Yeah. We can get our country back, and we can make it into the country we want it to be. And my symbol in the elections is 4 stars. That's the symbol that is going to appear on my ballot paper, on the ballot paper next to my name. And that was chosen carefully. It was chosen deliberately. It was chosen because it is representative of that bright vision, that bigger, brighter future that I have for our Virgin Islands. And the 4 stars depict Anegada, Jost van Dyke, Virgin Gorda, and Tortola.
Great.
Symbolism matters.
That's right. That's right. Well, like I said, the people I know, they're feeling your passion. I don't think you're going to get anybody out there watching this saying to themselves, nah, I don't believe in what she's saying. Everything you said throughout the last 3.5 years, and even before that in some cases, but more so now in the past 3.5 years, many, many, many people have voiced their concern on everything you said. Disrespect in the House of Assembly. People who have interest in seeing the country progress feel it's their right, their only opportunity to understand from a government perspective and then from the opposition as well as to what's really happening in the country. And when they watch the House of Assembly, they see questions being avoided. Premier is not prepared. He doesn't have the answer when the order paper, the agenda has been set a week or 2 before, and he has all the resources to put those information together. Sometimes you can also put a little blame on the opposition. They might be a little bit more, aggressive and could probably lay back a little bit and say, let's just put it on the table. If they answer, they answer. If they don't answer, the people will be the judge of that. But at the end of the day, people were very dissatisfied.
One of the things that really concerned me, Sam, was the relegation on the order paper, and I'm obviously very familiar with order papers in the House of Assembly. The order papers set in the standing orders.
Yes.
And of course, there is provision to vary the order paper and matters on the order paper. But what disturbed me very deeply, and it disturbed me for every citizen in this country, and the young people in Anegada and Jost van Dyke and Virgin Gorda, because this is about them. What disturbed me was the relegation of that item. Well, among the many things that disturbed me was the relegation of that item on the order paper, questions and answers to questions, to a very low place on the order paper, and the statement that the business of the people had to be done first. But that is of the essence of the business of the people.
Absolutely.
Absolutely of the essence of the business of the people. It bothered me.
I think you hit the nail on the head. One of the things I want to throw in there, Ms. Penn, if you were fortunate again, and I believe you probably will be, you mentioned some of the builders, the true pioneers of the BVI. And they are lost. On another show that I co-host, I often give credit, and even in my speech out on my tours, I give credit to the men and women that put forward smart, strategic plan thinking. It wasn't easy for any of them.
They had such tremendous vision.
And today, Ms. Penn, where are they? We don't know who they are. The young people don't know who they are. I remember you specifically when you were in the House. One of the things I really admire about what you did then, when a young friend, Kendoy, had died.
Oh, yes.
You
asked
for a bench or something that we could remember this young man from. Nobody else. This is a man who was working for the government, was brutally killed in this country.
A great tragedy.
Great tragedy.
Great
working
tragedy.
On behalf of the people's interests, and you were the only person who stood up and said, something must be done.
Yeah.
And that's what I want you to bring.
Yes, Sam. Thank you very much for that. And thanks for mentioning Kendoy, and I condole with his family. Of course, they're my relatives. Yeah. But we've also lost so many other people to senseless crimes. And I condole with those families as well, even though I do not now name them. And one of the things that we have to work very hard for is the improvement of the criminal justice system in our country, the greater delivery of justice to people. We have to do more to strengthen our courts and our court system. Our judges are good and noble people, and they work hard, but they work, as do the court staffs, with difficulties with resources and so on. And I really sincerely believe that as we strengthen our governance, we need to be wiser and more thoughtful in the way that we allocate our resources so that the courts and the justice system get a fairer share of the national budget allocated to them.
That's right. When you guys were in power, when you were part of the last government, some money was sought to the Caribbean Development Bank, $15 million.
Oh, yes. I remember that loan well, Sam.
For some reason, to this day, we haven't really seen that money used for the purpose. In a quick response, what was the delay? Were there any delays? And why would it be necessary for the government now to borrow $16 million from Social Security?
Sam, thank you for raising that. And I wish I could give you an answer. But like you, and I believe like many people in the country, I am baffled by it all. I remember very well that $15 million loan from the Caribbean Development Bank. In fact, you may remember that I, as acting premier at the time, piloted, well, no, you don't pilot a motion, but I brought the motion to the House for the government to agree to get that loan, $15 million from the Caribbean Development Bank. The background to it was that we had, and you will remember Hurricane Otto, I think it was, and there was widespread devastation.
That's right.
A lot of undermining of roads,
That's right.
serious
Cane Garden
flooding.
Bay, for
Cane
example.
Garden Bay was
Ballast Bay.
devastated, Ballast Bay, all of those areas. And the Premier at the time and the Minister of Communications and Works at the time physically went to Barbados.
That's right.
And negotiated that loan with the Caribbean Development Bank. And it was a very fine loan. It was a loan that was meant to be very sustainable and to ensure that our roads and our drainage systems would be done in a way that would ensure sustainability for the long term. Since 2011, I have not been in the government, and I do not know why the loan has not been used. I did hear an answer given in the House some months ago to the effect that approximately $11 million remains unspent from the loan. I do not know what the reason is, and I too have been astounded by the fact that just, I believe, a little over 2 weeks before the dissolution of the House of Assembly, a loan for $16 million was obtained, and I understand it's an unsecured loan. I do not know, but that's my understanding, that it is an unsecured loan from the Social Security Board. Sam, I have had the privilege of being chairman of the Social Security Board, and I pay tribute to all who have labored and labored so hard to have that system being what it is. It's a fine system. It's highly respected throughout the world. Throughout the world, I can tell you that on the International Councils of Social Security, BVI has a good name and it has a good place. And I know that part of the mandate of Social Security is to invest the funds so that the funds can grow. Those funds, as you know, are there, our old age pensions, our death benefits and funeral grants, our maternity grants, our disability grants.
That's right. That's right.
People have expressed concern to me about the fact that, yes, with approximately with approximately $11 million remaining on the CDB loan, the Caribbean Development Bank loan, we get $16 million within weeks of the House being dissolved. And we are doing things like cutting down the face of the hill at Brandywine. And we are not paying any attention to what is under those roads. It's all rushed up to this morning.
Yeah.
I think we live out east, we would have driven in and seen it. And people are concerned about it, as I am.
That's another
And when you read my action plan, you will see that one of the things that I make comment on is that Social Security loan.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit, how do you feel about the critics? You know, the critics say you were in the House, you were deputy governor, not governor, I'm sorry, deputy premier. You were the representative for the 8th district. I live in the 8th district. I admire some of the work you were doing. But of course, some of the major projects, let's be real, some of the major projects weren't finished. And the incumbent now were able to finish those projects. How do you address the critics that say you were a do-nothing representative and a very not doing anything deputy premier? How do you address that?
Thank you for that, Sam, and that is a talk that is about. I would say the following. People are obviously entitled to their opinions, and I respect their opinions. But you know, we can have our own opinions, but we cannot create our own facts. That's very important. I have, and I stand on, a long, proud record. And in terms of the 8th district, there have been many, many achievements that were made. There were achievements that were made to the physical infrastructure of the district, and I'll come to some of them. And there were improvements which were made in the social infrastructure of the district. Because, Sam, I have always believed, and I will die believing, that our life is about more than concrete.
That's right. That's right.
And retaining walls. They are important. I'm not saying that they are not. They are important, but our lives are about far more.
That's right.
Again, I know everybody does not read the internet, but I've taken time to create a website in which I show in words and in pictures. There are a lot of photographs on the website, things that I did as the representative of the 8th District in the House of Assembly. I was a representative of the district at the height of one of the worst recessions that the world and this country has seen.
Say that again.
And it is a fact.
Say it again.
I was the representative of the 8th District at the time when the world and this country saw one of the worst recessions that we have seen.
That's right.
There were also other issues that were entirely beyond my control as an individual. But the people know that I worked. And as I said, I have taken the time, because this is very important, and history matters, and people forget. I have taken the time to document in writing and in photographs much of what I did in the 8th District. And it is a good thing that the current representative has built on what I started. And I built on what others have started. You see, Sam, we have to get away from the mentality that things begin when we come on the scene. And our lives and the life of this country did not begin 3.5 years ago.
That's right.
Frankly, all that has happened is that the National Democratic Party government put resources into the 8th District to complete what was there. Look at the brochure that I put out in 2011. Look at my website. Look at the community today. And I'm glad that the things have been done, because the purpose of any government is to help, well, among the purposes, is to help to improve the lives of its people. And we build on the shoulders of others. And it is very sad, and I want the young people of this country to understand, things didn't begin to happen when Dancia Penn came on the scene. Things didn't begin to happen 3.5 years ago. A lot of people were there building long before that. And what we should do is celebrate the achievements of our people and seek to build on those achievements instead of saying she did nothing and he did nothing. Sam, I have a proud record. I stand on it, and the people know that. And I want to especially say to the people of the 8th District, I'm very grateful to them. And you know what, Sam? In 2011, they returned me to the House of Assembly with a greater number of votes than they had returned me with in 2007.
Awesome.
But as you know, there's another story.
Awesome. Well, I think you're on your website somewhere where you're starting to show the record. It should say
it's very much there, and the people know it.
It should say action do speak louder than words.
You know I love I love reggae.
What are your views? Just real quick, what are your views? And I know you'll probably elaborate more on this in the future. What are your views as a former legislator, a person in government, somebody who's been in law? What is your view on this whole snap election thing?
Oh, I'm so glad you've asked me that, Sam. How much time do we have?
Not
Because
much.
I can spend an hour on that.
Not much. Give it to me in a snapshot.
But it is an extremely unprecedented move in our country. I believe that the voters of this country, the residents of the country, are entitled to an explanation as to why. It is and I need to say something else. It is a matter of very deep concern to many people. I have had old men, old women calling me up and asking me, Miss Penn, is it legal? I've had young people. You know, one of the very troubling things about it all, Sam, is I have been told a figure of over 600. I do not know if that is accurate, but I have been told that there are approximately 600 young people and other persons who would have qualified to be registered as voters had the government gone further in its term. And you realize that the election has been called 10 months early.
Yes.
I'm a student of history and of current affairs. And when you look at history and at current affairs, snap elections, early elections are not called this early, except there's a very good reason for doing so. And I honestly think that the government owes it to us It owes it to the men and women and the young people and the children of this country to explain this very unusual move. We've had a legislative council since 1950, as I said, and this has never happened.
Never.
And there are a lot of suspicions about it. I've heard the answer given by our Honorable Premier that it is part of what the Westminster system allows. That's the history. But even at the Parliament at Westminster, since 2011, that there is now a fixed date term for elections. There's now a fixed date term for elections. There's an act of Parliament which was passed, and the government, the British government, they explained why they considered that it was important to have a fixed date term, a fixed date rather, for elections. And among the reasons are to prevent, they think it will improve the whole political process and the whole political system better. They think that it is important that one side does not get an unfair advantage over the other. And you know what many of the young people have said to me, Sam, here, I'm speaking about our young people, East End, Longlow, Cane Garden Way, and so on. We feel, Ms. Penn, that we have been deprived of the right to have a choice as to who to vote for to be our next government. We feel that in calling this election so early and so quickly, our government is saying to us essentially vote for us because nobody else had a chance. We simply owed an explanation.
Yeah.
As you know, our neighbors in the USVI have for a long time enjoyed a fixed date for their elections, and I think it's the right thing.
Yeah.
And part of what I would work for if I were privileged to be elected as a member of the House of Assembly in the upcoming general elections would be for constitutional reform, and part of the constitutional reform would have to be and should be having a fixed date term. We need to do other things as well, and we don't have time to go into this now, but we need to have a clearly defined role for our Director of Public Prosecutions and the Office of Attorney General, because trust me, they may not be apparent to the general public, but I know as a lawyer, and people in the society know that there are issues in relation to that. And there are many other areas in our Constitution that we need to reform and have upgraded, and I would work towards that.
Good, good. Well,
Sam, before we close, I
yes.
would like to specifically address
go ahead.
our friends from outside the Caribbean and a particular group.
Yeah.
Yo quiero decir unas pocas palabras a nuestros amigas y amigos latinos. A ustedes, saludos. Yo sé, y yo sé muy bien, la historia y las relaciones de sus países y estas islas. Yo sé. Yo sé también que hay cosas de importancia a ustedes. Yo sé, por ejemplo, que hay un problema de obteniendo algunos servicios públicos con las oficinas del gobierno y en el hospital, por ejemplo. Yo creo que es importante hacer cualquier es posible asistir con estos problemas, y yo sé que hay más que ustedes tienen. Yo le pido su voto en el 8 de junio y yo prometo tratar asistir. Mi nombre es Penn, P-E-N-N, y yo soy número 8 en el ballot. Mi símbolo es 4 estrellas. 4 estrellas. Las estrellas son un símbolo de las islas de Anegada, Virgin Gorda, Just Van Dyke y Tórtola. Busca mi nombre y mi símbolo y vota para mí. Muchas gracias.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Ms. Penn, I must say again, you surprised me. I didn't know. I carry a Spanish name, and you speak Spanish.
Sí, se llama Julio.
So you know, I didn't know. But I tell you,
taught right here in our school.
Awesome, awesome.
Those are some of the foundations that we have had laid.
Awesome.
And part of what I would like to see, Sam, because it's the way the world is going, is for our education system to be enhanced and enriched from the primary levels, because that's where it starts.
That's right.
And one of the things that we have to work towards is to broaden the capacity of our young people so that they can become critical thinkers, so that they can be able to converse in more than one language, so that they can be able to just take their rightful places anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Because the world is a small global village.
Well, you know, we are the global village. I mean, when we're talking about facilitating 130 different nationalities in the BVI, we do business on an international scale. We're communicating with all these different countries, and you know, we are the vehicle that they need to conduct business.
Absolutely.
And so all people must be ready. So therefore, you got your work cut out for you.
Thank
I
you.
mean, we, myself included, I am taking a trip. This is just a little about me. I'm taking a trip this summer, specifically to Panama for about a month and a half, Panama and other countries, just to pick up my Spanish.
Panama is a beautiful country.
Just to pick up my Spanish. Yeah. So one of the things I would like to see, and we'll close in 2 minutes, is a program where we also can take some of our young people who are advanced, who are willing to learn, and maybe do an exchange program with Cuba.
Absolutely.
Do an exchange program with Panama.
I think you've been reading my website, Sam.
Okay.
I'm listening to my speeches. But I do want to say, sorry, I do want to say as well, now that we've gone down this road, that the facility of being able to speak several languages is very important.
Absolutely.
I know that you're very involved in the tourism sector.
Right.
And I'm sure you meet people all the time who we could have so much more meaningful experiences with if we had more.
That's right.
I'm sorry, if we had more facility in different languages.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Ms. Penn, I'll give you 2 minutes. Look into the camera. Tell the audience, the people who are out there, the women who are looking for true leadership in yourself, people like yourself. Of course, there are more women on the ballot, but I think, and this is my personal endorsement, I shouldn't be doing this, but it's my show. My personal endorsement is that I think you are one of the well-rounded, more mature individual that's bringing something real to the ballot. So I wish you all the best. I wish you all the best. I truly wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
And I'll tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my show. You are getting my vote. Wrap up. Tell the people how you feel.
Sam, thank you very much for all your kind words and your support. It is very much appreciated. And many thanks for the opportunity to appear today on Open Mic. I've enjoyed it. I hope that I have been able to share with you and with the audience some of the thoughts, some of my concerns, part of my vision. I invite you, voters, ladies and gentlemen, resident friends, to visit my website, www.votedancia.com. Contact me. There are contact details on the website. And just meet me and approach me. I will be very much on the road and in the communities in the coming week. I will be coming to you, my friends and colleagues in Anegada, in Just Van Dyke, and throughout the various communities of Tortola. If, because of the shortness of time, I do not happen to reach you directly, I still ask for your support, for your prayers, for your ideas, and for whatever assistance you are able to give. This is not about me. This is about our country. I believe we can save it, and I ask for your vote on Election Day, the 8th of June, 2015. I am number 8 on the ballot, and my symbol is 4 stars. 4 stars representing Anegada, Just Van Dyke, Virgin Gorda, and Tortola. I thank you. May God bless you. May God bless all of us and our beautiful Virgin Islands. Thank you.